And so I'm a huge Cardinals fan and Blues fan. Like we are big on our sports in St. Louis. And when we go down to the arenas or to the baseball stadium, like you don't care who you're sitting next to when we're winning. I'm slapping hands with everybody. I don't care. Yeah. And that's that camaraderie that we get. And also like the 7th inning stretch when you have to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." You don't care. You just stand up and sing. Yeah. And so when we have those honor choir experiences, we are getting to know each other, and we remove some of those barriers, and we can just sing. As long as you get to do, that's really all I care about.
Welcome to the Choir Baton, a podcast designed to engage with people and stories, ideas, and inspirations stemming from choir. No other art form, no sport, no hobby, no business requires a group of people to execute a communal goal with just their voices. Join me, your host, Beth Philemon, as I interview guests who are singers, teacher conductors, instrumentalists, and community members. Together, we'll ask questions, seek understanding, and share insight from our experiences in life and in choir. Hey, Choir Baton, I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode with Maria Ellis, also known as Choral Conductor. I first met Maria through the internet over a year ago at this point, and I share this story as a means of insight and learning, hopefully for you and for me, about this precursory interaction prior to today's recording. I saw Maria on Instagram, loved the brand that she was building, wanted to have her on the Choir Baton podcast, reached out, we began talking, struggled to set up times. I have no doubt because of my schedule and my crazy. You might not know this about me, but I am introverted and I'm one of those like introverted extroverts. I really regain time and focus by not talking to people, which is a big sign of introversion. And that's how I get my energy. And coupled with, I am just a socially anxious person a lot of times. And in conversations with people, even sometimes in like email responses and messages responses, I have to like psych myself up to respond because I am afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing, or I'm not going to say the right thing, or I won't know what to respond. I know I'm not alone in that. So if you are like that, I want you to know you are not alone in that. So all of that to say, it took us a little while. I said, hey, let's meet in person at the National ACDA conference. We met in the crazy hall the expo hall where there's like 1 million people, 1 million different booths, all the things. And when we met, I went into my crazy, introverted, socially awkward self. I'm sure I was probably exhausted at this point. And I was like, she doesn't like me. She's just being nice to me and like appeasing me by like, I'm just going to meet this girl so she'll get off my back and stop asking me to be a guest on the Choir Baton podcast. And I'm just going to get her off my back. That was the narrative I told myself. Wrong or right as it is what it was. And I just kind of pulled back. I was like, I never want anyone to feel forced to be on the Choir Baton podcast. And so I just stepped back. Now, nothing like that was ever said at all. Maria was lovely to me then. Again, I just went in my head. And several months passed, and we maybe even talked about it a little bit more. I'm sure I could look through the DMs and figure it out, but I was like, I don't want her to feel forced, and I feel like I'm forcing her. And she ended up recording an episode with Chris Muntz of the Choralosophy podcast, and I was so excited to hear more of her journey and story, and was so moved by her vulnerability on the episode, her kick butt attitude towards going after things in life. And then also where she talked about her time in business and her learning process through music literacy. Those the last two in particular really resonated with me. If you don't know my journey, I have been a choral conductor for the last 10 years, still am, have an undergrad and master's degree in music, and am now getting my master's in business. And doing a little bit of all the things. And so it was almost in some ways our lives were reciprocals of each other, where she had been business full time and now doing music ed, and I had been music ed full time and now going into business. And yet we still live in kind of both of those worlds. Additionally, she talked about her journey to learning standard music notation from a background of aural and rote choral singing. And while my background in music literacy was founded in some traditional music literacy standards, I did a lot more with aural music as well. Therefore, I really rely on my ear when I'm singing, and struggled to teach music literacy because I didn't fully understand music literacy as well. I could always, quote unquote, I'm air quoting, blend with the person beside me, aka guess that I was and hope that I was singing the right rhythms and intervals, and then make sure I was listening to the person beside me, that it matched up. And so I just really appreciated her vulnerability in sharing that story and her story of growth through music literacy. And I DM'd her and I was like, girl, thank you. And we kind of started our conversation back up again. And I was like, maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was like, I don't know, Beth, you should try again. And I think I even told her when I reached out to her on Instagram, like, thank you so much for telling your story. I said, listen, I have to admit, I thought you didn't like me when we met in person. You did nothing to like give me that sort of thing. I realized it was a crazy moment. And she was like, I don't know, she didn't apologize because she didn't have anything to apologize for. But I just realized that I had gone into my head about it. So we have continued talking on and off since then, and wanted to get her on the podcast again. Also wanted to be mindful of, other, not that, Chris would even say this. He would probably laugh at me if he heard me say this, but, we don't hold like licensees over people that we interview, but I do want to allow space within any types of similar people that we could be, the same people we could be interviewing, not similar people, the same people. And there's always a million people for us to interview, right? There's the world is so wide of amazing people with stories and insight to share with us about life in choral music. So I just wanted to allow her episode on Chris's to be for a while. And then she had another episode with the amazing Emmy Birch and Dr. Emmy Birch. And I encourage you, if you've not heard that episode or Emmy's podcast, to go check out the Muse Ed podcast as well. Emmy's a delight and doing amazing, amazing things with that. So go save those in your phone or however you're listening to a podcast. And so then finally I was like, Beth, you're being crazy. You just got to like make it happen and do it. And the timing doesn't matter. So long story short, over a year, almost maybe a year and a half later at this point, we're finally sitting down together to talk. And you know what? The Lord, the spirits, the whatever you higher power you do or not don't believe in, knew what they were doing, because the message that she shared with me and that she's about to share with you all when you listen to this episode is quite frankly exactly the correct timing that I needed to hear in my life, and I believe that you need to hear in your life as well. Maria's story is all about leaning into who you are and who you want to be and going after things in life. And I am just so proud to know her, grateful that she is a part of the choral community, and excited to see what she's only going to continue to do online, in her hometown, across the world, with other choirs, all of the things. I am continually inspired by her energy and love for music, and I know that you will hear that as well. Things are different right now as we are going to be we're in July now, and we don't know what schools are going to look like. We don't know what community choirs or religious choirs are going to be like in the future. But we can always find a way, and we can always innovate, and we can always learn, and we can always grow, and we can always sing. And it might look different. It will look different than what we've always done, but that's okay. We are musicians. We still show up. We still seek community with others. It's just going to be unique. So without further ado, here is my episode with Maria Ellis. I hope that by me sharing with you a little bit of my vulnerability about how this episode came to be and the genesis of our relationship, that you will also remember that you can't always assume things, and that it's important for us to realize that, particularly at conferences, that people are always going through so much. And if someone wants to be there and be a friend for you, then they will be. And if they don't, they won't. And that's what I've learned through this, amongst other things. Similarly, if you struggle with that mindset of, oh, they didn't like me, or oh, this, or oh, that, know that you're not alone. And I do so much better with that now than I used to, but I still continue to struggle with it. And I think that is just who we are, and there's no sense in being shame-filled about that, but only recognizing it about ourselves and moving forward as well. Thank you to Maria Ellis for being a guest on the Choir Baton podcast. If you want to hear more of her story, don't forget you can go and check out Dr. Amy Birch's podcast, the MuseEd podcast, or Choralosophy, but don't do that yet. First, listen to this episode of the Choir Baton podcast. All right, Choir Baton, I am so excited to bring you today's special podcast guest, Miss Maria Ellis, also known as Girl Conductor. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And hi, Choir Baton. How are you guys?
And I am just so excited to have you. It has been over a year that we've been talking about making this happen.
It has been.
And here we are.
Here we are. Let's go.
I love it. So a little bit of backdrop, that's the wrong word, but I remember meeting you, even though we hadn't met, online a little over a year ago through Instagram, right? Is that when you joined?
I think so, yeah. Well,
okay.
I've been on Instagram, but yeah, I think that's where we met, over Instagram.
Yeah. And I reached out to you, and I like your branding that I saw. I was like, this is my people. This is my yes. And we met at National ACDA. Do you remember that?
I do remember that, because we took a picture at the big ACDA sign.
I'm going to use it for this. I knew I was going to use it for this. And I know this will shock people that know me well. I am a little flighty and all over the place. And it has just taken us a year to nail it down on both of our schedules to make it happen. But when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So here we are.
And here we are. And so, that happens, being flighty and stuff. It's a lot going on. So that happens. So it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like the beauty, I feel like, of that creative mind. But then I've also stalked you on your two other podcasts that you've been on, with Chris Muntz on Choralosophy, and then also with Amy Birch on MuseEd podcast. And I remember listening to so this is a plug for their podcast. Go listen to Maria's interviews there. And we won't have to make the whole episode about this today, but because she tells the story beautifully in those other podcasts, but when you talked about your moment of music literacy, and that was just so resounding to me. So how about for people that don't know a little bit of your story, can you give them the 1-minute elevator speech?
Sure. Maria Ellis, been singing in a choir since I was talking, but we'll give it an age of 3. Sang through elementary, middle, and high school. Never learned to read music, as that was not the way we were taught. We were taught via oral tradition, and didn't know that I could be a conductor as a female. I thought that was a male position, and didn't know that was that you could be a full-time choir director in those positions. So I took the business route. Started at Millikan University, did a year there studying business, and then started a job at AT&T. Worked at AT&T for 12 years and was given the opportunity through my church to start or actually revamp a children's choir. Fell in love with it. I've always loved music, always loved it. But fell in love with it. Grew a choir that had 7 kids to 50 kids in less than 6 months. And then decided that I didn't know enough to really teach them. I knew solfege, but just not enough to really, really teach them. At that time, my job at AT&T was laying off. I worked for Yellow Pages and they were laying off, but I was not a part of the layoff. But it was said that if you got laid off, they would pay for 2 years of schooling. So I gave away my job, then auditioned for the University of Missouri, St. Louis program in May. Came in, auditioned, was told, you have a great voice, but your voice hasn't been trained and you can't read music. So come back in January and re-audition. And I was like, nope. Took that summer. So the summer of January 2013, worked with a friend who had just had a music degree, and we worked 3 days a week. I took private voice, came back in August, re-auditioned, got into the program. Literally didn't know a lot. I knew some things, but I didn't know, I couldn't identify the bass clef. I knew it was a bass clef, but I couldn't identify lines and spaces. So basic things like that I couldn't do. But I just worked really hard and networked and friended lots of people who helped me on this journey. And, here we are now.
I love that. I love that. I mean, there's so many amazing takeaways, even of just going after your dreams. I see so much of myself in your story, but from a reciprocal standpoint of having grown up in music and always done music. And for me, all of my choir directors were women. And so I never necessarily saw it as a male perceived thing. I saw business really as a male sort of thing, and then have switched it. But I think they're really intertwined in a lot of ways, right? I mean, especially with Girl Conductor, you're really running a business.
Yes. So I always knew, in my senior high school book, I wrote in that book that I would have my own company. That was always going to be a thing. But what I didn't know, I had female choir teachers, but they taught in the classroom setting. I never wanted to teach in a classroom. And so I thought that my route for music was to either teach in a classroom, which I didn't want to do, or I couldn't have a career being a professional choir director. Yeah. And because I didn't know that I could have a music education career and not be an in-classroom teacher, I just didn't go that route.
So can we unpack a bit why not a classroom? Because I know there are so many people that are like, me, that's where I'm at right now too. What was your thinking behind that?
I love teaching. I have always loved teaching. But when I was 18 and in the classroom, I noticed how disrespectful children were at that time. And I just said, I don't think I can sit 8 hours and constantly take that. That's just a lot for me. I can't take that. But again, that was when I was 18. Now, as an adult, I can take a very different route in teaching a classroom. But AT&T was very structured. So it was literally, you clock in at 9 o'clock and you get a break from 11 to 11:15, and then lunch comes at this time. And it was just super, super structured. Yeah. And after living that life for 12 years, I said, I don't want to live that life again of being so structured. So now I'm one of my jobs is I'm the community engagement manager for the St. Louis Children's Choirs. And that allows me to float in and out of various spaces. So every day is a new adventure. And I love it because I get to meet so many kinds of kids. And I like to call myself their favorite auntie. But going in and spoiling them and then, leaving and not having to, do the rest of it. So shout out to every classroom teacher. Love you. Thank you for what you do. It's just not for me.
I mean, I love that. And I hope we're probably going to begin to even see more girl conductors of a business model. And while it is scary, I mean, we can also talk about equity issues of students that don't have access to school music programs, and how we craft the community music program is going to have to be incredibly intentional to be mindful of that. I ultimately, maybe this is just the optimist in me, but I think we could close a lot of music education gaps by taking the school system out of it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that's exactly what I'm doing with the St. Louis Children's Choirs. Kind of what we do is we, if a teacher calls and say, you know, can somebody come out? I'm that person that goes out. And literally, if someone says, you know, I need help with classroom management, then, you know, I help them with classroom management. Or if somebody says, well, you know, I'm the music teacher, but I'm not, and you know, there's classrooms where the music teacher isn't trained technically to be a music teacher. So I help them through processes. If I see, like, one thing that I noticed was that certain demographics were not represented in our honor choirs in Missouri, or in St. Louis rather. Certain schools weren't represented. So then I went to those schools and I was like, okay, why are you not in this program, or what's the need? Right. And then I worked with those students to help them audition to get to be a part of the you know, the district honor choirs and things of that nature. So
I love that.
It's finding the work, the things that's missing and finding solutions. I
love that. What are some of the common reasons that you're hearing from people as to why there isn't representation there
in honor choir settings?
And what you've seen in your consulting?
It's the system is not equal. If I come from an affluent school, then I have access sometimes to a private. I'll give you a good example. I student taught at a school that was predominantly Caucasian, and in order for them to audition for the honor choirs or whatnot, they had to have a private voice teacher. Yeah, you had to have a private voice teacher. And so someone who's from a school that's 99% free and reduced lunch, well, having a private voice teacher, that's not an option. That's not something that's going to happen. So it's already unequal. And then the repertoire, if I got to choose from the 24 or 26, I don't remember the number.
It depends on someone's own edition and how much money they want to make from it.
So 24 or 26 Italians, well, if I don't speak Italian, then I'm already I'm at another disadvantage. So I don't have a private voice teacher, boom. I don't know how to speak Italian or have the voice teacher to teach me the Italian. So I'm at another disadvantage. And then the fees. Well, if I can't afford the fees to get into the choir, well, boom, I'm at another disadvantage. So I already got 3 strikes against me. And that's not even taking the fact that I may or may not know how to sight read music. Well, that's a part of it. So if I can't do that, boom, that's another strike against me. So I'm already, and then the instructions say, you know, you can't sing a gospel song or something like that. Well, if that's my tradition as growing up, that's all I knew. I mean, I can't sing gospel. That's what I know. Then I'm at another disadvantage. So those steps, you know, if I'm a teacher and my kids don't have those steps, that's not worth me doing. And so one of the things that I did, I have a community high school choir. And I really wanted to give them the experience of having the district choir experience. Right. So the first 6 weeks, what we did is we worked on everything. They all learned the same song, Se Ben Cordele. They all learned that. And then I brought in 2 of my college professors and asked them to come in and work with the kids so they would have some type of voice lesson so they can get in. I had someone sponsor the fees, so, you know, they didn't have to pay the fees. We had transportation set up so they can get to and from the rehearsals and things like that. But it was removing all these barriers so they can at least just have the experience. Now, they weren't ready they didn't get an all-state audition, right? But at least they got to have the experience. And for some people, that's a lot of work. They don't want to do the work, which I can't really say I blame them.
Which leads me then to my next question. Like, then sometimes, like, all these jumps and I'm not saying I hate Italian arias, and I'm not saying that this isn't important, but tiny baby Jesus, is this worth all of the, is it worth, like, where's the line do we draw it of trying to jump through the hoops because wanting them to have that experience, but then also, like, is that really an experience all the time worth having? I don't know.
I can't say that it is. And so one other thing that I started with St. Louis Children's Choirs, when I was a child in sixth grade, I had the experience with the St. Louis Children's Choirs where they had like an honor choir program, and they sent out, I think it was either 4 or 5 pieces of music. They sent it in the mail, and you learn the music, and then you were a part of this honor choir experience. Well, when I joined the choir as the community engagement manager, the first thing I asked, I was like, where's that choir that I had when I was 16, when I was in sixth grade, sorry. And they was like, oh, well, we don't do it anymore. And I was like, let's bring it back. Let's do it again. So we started a elementary honor choir. And with that honor choir, what we do is we strategically target those underserved school districts, and we get them the music, and there's no fee. There's 100% no fee. Everybody gets a t-shirt. Everybody gets lunch. So we target those schools. They can send 6 students, and then we take the students from our children's choir ensemble, and we combine all of these kids into one group. So for people who don't know, you can't tell what school somebody is from. It's all kind of kids represented in their choir. It's fully diverse. And the kids during that experience, they are separated not by school, but by animal. So everybody, when you come in, you get a name tag that has an animal on it. So, you may have a turkey, I may have a duck, somebody else may have a pig or a dog or something like that.
Yeah.
And then when it's time for breaks and lunches, we seat them by animal. And that way they get to know each other as kids. All those other barriers, like, that stuff don't mean anything. Right now, everybody is equal. Everybody's learning. Everybody has had the opportunity to learn in advance. So whether you read the music or whether you learned it via oral tradition, it doesn't matter. We're all working together to do this. And so we found that to be very successful. We also do that at the middle school level, but it is combined with some affluent schools, but not a lot. But we do that for students in those districts as well, so they can still have an honor choir experience.
Because there is something to be said, right? Like, I struggle with those all the time, like quality versus quantity. There is something to be said for having that mass choir experience.
Yeah, it's an amazing experience, but it also, I think, one thing that I always loved about singing, and my philosophy is I really don't care what you look like when we sing. I don't care about that. It's just like when you go to I'm from St. Louis, and so I'm a huge Cardinals fan and Blues fan. Like, we are big on our sports in St. Louis. And when we go down to the arenas or to the baseball stadium, like, you don't care who you're sitting next to when we're winning. I'm slapping hands with everybody. I don't care. Yeah. And that's that camaraderie that we get. And also, like, the 7th inning stretch when you have to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," you don't care. You just stand up and sing. Yeah. And so when we have those honor choir experiences, we are getting to know each other, and we remove some of those barriers, and we can just sing. As long as you get to do, that's really all I care about.
Or at least try to get there if you can't get there.
And if you can't get there, the honor choir may not be the experience for you, but but like just singing together, I think that helps. I learned so much from when I went back to school, so much from my colleagues from my peers who were of Asian descent and who were Caucasian. Learned so much from them because we sang together. That was the thing that we had in common. And then from there, we could go to learning other things. I remember we had a cohort of students from, I think they were from China, and they came to study music business at the school. And one night, we all went out we all went ballroom dancing, and it was so fun. And that's an experience that I would have never had had we not sang in a choir together. I mean, That's just not something I'm not exposed to Asian people on that level. But where I live, my demographic is pretty much black and white. But to have that experience to say, yeah, we hung out and we went ballroom dancing and it was so much fun, and I got to learn about their culture and they got to learn more about me. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So
that you also don't get in that corporate section that must have been like, how was that transition? Even though you chose to leave that 9 to 5, I mean, that had to have been tricky and hard and all the things.
it was terrifying because I made good money at AT&T. I was a senior claims analyst. And with 12 years, I had seniority. I wasn't laid off. I wasn't in the number to be laid off. So it was scary, but I can say I can stay here and make money and be miserable because I was miserable. I hated it. It had no drive for me. Now to other people who do it, like my husband still works for AT&T,
okay,
and he loves it. But for me, I wasn't being fulfilled because it was the same thing every day. Picking up the phone, listening to people who are upset. Okay, help them out. Boom, next customer. Pick up. It wasn't fulfilling. But the choir, being with my babies, my original choir babies. Oh, I was in love, and I would spend time while at work trying to find ways to figure out more things for them. How can I engage them more? How can I teach them something else? Oh, I made up this song. I was doing all of that, still working, but that was my focus was on them. And I can honestly say, besides for, getting married, it was the best decision of my life to leave. It was the best. And so, yes, it was scary, but I'm a woman of faith. And I prayed about it, and I trust God for provisions that He would make for me, and He has opened up so many doors for me. It's not even funny, and I'm grateful for taking the leap of faith to step out there and do it. But on the other side of that, Beth, it's hard work. It's hard work, and creating a brand like Girl Conductor or something like that, like that's not, it's not easy work because you have to be the person who has to be fearless, and it's not easy to be fearless. You know what I mean? You're taking a risk every time I put a warm up on social media. It's like, okay, I'm putting this out there, but oh my God, are people going to say that it's out of tune? Are people going to talk about it? What are they going to say? But then at some point, it's like, you know what? I don't care. If you don't like it, don't use it with your choir. I don't care. I know that this is helping or blessing somebody or giving somebody else an idea of something that they can do. And so I'm grateful for that. So
that's huge, right? Is that putting yourself out there, and it's freaking hard work. I don't think people understand. And I'm talking about this a lot right now, just in general, and like side conversations of how hard this is to build a brand, right? Like the little bit that people see of Girl Conductor or of Choir Baton on social media, the internet, et cetera, is like a little pinprick of all the work behind it. It's insane. So then here's my question. How do you, because this is something I'm working through right now, as we're building this brand and seeking to be collaborative and seeking to assume positive intent from everyone that we are working out with, how do you then also trust people?
That's a big factor. So it's funny. It's very funny that you say this today. I hired I guess like a brand consultant to help me push Girl Conductor to the next level. And he and I was talking earlier today, and he was like, well, I need to log into this so I can, put these fonts and stuff in here. And I was like, I said, I'm being really trusting with you because I'm giving you access to my baby. And I'm a mother of 3, and I don't trust everybody with my children, not at all. And Girl Conductor it's my baby. So it's like, I'm trusting you, but I'm still like watching to make sure you don't, mess me over. But you have to have faith, but you also have to have discernment. I'm I am big on auras and energies and stuff. And if your spirit don't sit right with my spirit, it's not a good fit for me. So some things people have asked, could they collab on? I'm like, yeah, not right now. It's not a good fit for me right now. But that's just me trusting the discernment that I have, just trusting in it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. We talked about this even before, right? Like before we even met, I was like, and women, I think as women, especially, my girlfriends are some of my best people in the world, but then girls could be mean too. And you also have to watch out for other women, as awful as that is to say.
Yeah, you do. But then you also have to, like, one thing this may be because I'm getting older. I think getting older.
We can't be too far apart in age here. I'm serious.
Okay. But in getting older, some things I've learned not to trust everybody with. So ideas, I don't share my ideas. I write my ideas down. And then I have like one or two friends that I talk ideas with. My brand baby, like I don't share that with everybody. And I don't want to be super religious on this call, but
no, it's your interview, girl. We can do whatever you want.
But I believe that God gives vision to specific people. And the vision that he gave me for Girl Conductor, it was the vision for Maria. And so Maria shouldn't be trying to give that vision to everybody else. It wasn't their vision. Choir Baton was your vision.
Right.
And everybody may not understand why you do what you do with your vision. Well, they're not supposed to. It's not their vision. And I constantly have to remind myself about that. Like I get ready, like I presented that idea and somebody's like, yeah, that wouldn't work. And I was like, Maria, that was dumb. You weren't supposed to tell that person that. It's not their vision to see. It's your vision. And you got to work through it. So anybody who's out there, even if you're not religious or whatnot, remember that whatever ideas and visions and stuff that you have, it was given to you for a reason. Yeah. It's yours. So don't spread that out to everybody because everybody's not going to see it. I mean, think about the first person who said, I'm going to take some water and put it in a bottle. I mean, think about all the people who was like, that's dumb. Nobody's going to buy that. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
A whole bunch of people was like, that is so dumb. But now what everybody now is like, let me get my bottle of water because that's what I need. Or the person who was like, I'm gonna put music on a phone and people are gonna be able to talk and it's gonna be a small computer in your hand. People was probably like, nobody's gonna do that. But now we are attached to these things. You know, these are now part of our lives. So the vision is given to you. Work the vision.
Okay, so then that fits in perfectly to my next question for you. Then, when so many times, we have a lot of listeners, I think, that are in various parts of their career, but one aspect I love of Choir Baton is loving on newer teachers, especially. And when you go to college, you have this one vision of what you think your choir program is going to be or what you want it to be. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you especially had to work through like several different visions, from the applying to the oh crap, to the studying, to the getting in. And then also like, how did you work out music school's vision for what you should do and how you should teach and who you should be? Compared to, because I'm guessing if your music school is anything like my music school, they had a vision for you, versus your own vision as well.
Luckily, I've been teaching in some aspect for some time. So at AT&T, I trained on some products. I did some training on some products, but I've been a choir director since I was 12 years old. Sure. My mother was is president of the choir at her church. My father, he and his other 8 siblings had a singing group growing up. So teaching music is something that has always come natural to me. It's just something that I've done for as long as I can remember. Like even when I was a kid, my sister and I would stay up at night and listen to the radio and like record and then like try to figure out the parts and stuff like that. So when I came to school, the teaching aspect, I didn't get a lot of feedback on that, which in some ways is good, but in some ways is not good. But I think my personality plays a part in that as well. So I strategically went to, I came from a predominantly Black high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to go to, that's me, I didn't want to go to a predominantly Black college. I could have, but I didn't want to, because I said, I know how to exist in this world with being surrounded around Black people. I know how to exist in that world. The world I don't know how to exist in is being surrounded around all white people. I don't know that world. And so going to Millikan, which is all white, was strategic, because I wanted to learn other cultures and things like that. I wanted to be able to go into both worlds. So when it came time to teach, I strategically student taught in an area that was not Black. I know how to work with Black kids. I know how to handle that. But white kids is not something that I was used to. So I strategically went to that area to get that experience.
Right.
And I think a lot of new teachers don't do that. I think a lot of teachers be like, I'm going to have this classroom and it's going to be everything, and I'm going to be Mary Poppins and it's going to be great. And that's just not reality. And I don't think our schools, sometimes I don't think our schools really give us the opportunity to really face reality. We don't do that. And so one thing that I started with when I was with St. Louis Children's Choirs is going back to, we would have kids, students who would come intern with us, and I would take them with me. Like when I would go out and I do programs in the community, part of their little internship was to go out with me. And then I'd put them in the fire, go teach, and I'm going to watch. And it's not going to be in an area where you're familiar with.
Right.
So throwing them in the fire and then letting them get some advice and stuff in areas that are not the best areas, as far as, you go to some schools and like all the kids are like, yes, we'll do exactly what you say. And then you go to other schools and they be like, nope, we ain't doing nothing. So,
I mean, the most transformative point in my teaching career, when I taught at a school when I was oftentimes the only white person in the room, and the majority of my students were all people of color, whether they were from Hispanic or African American descent. And I mean, it transformed me as a musician and as a person. It's honestly where my heart for Choir Baton began, because I feel like this word is thrown out so much, I almost hate using it, but it's like I had this privilege of never not knowing what a quarter note was, or never understanding that, and much less like, you want us to all stand in a line and and stand up and sing like that. That's not even how we sing in our culture, regardless of what your culture is from. Yeah. So I'm just reminiscing hearing you talk about that. And I think that's such a testament to the person you are, is the strategic aspect of making sure that you are placing yourself in different settings.
But also, to another part of that is, though, before I worked one of my jobs at AT&T was I was a outbound sales rep. I was a telemarketer. And I was one of them people who call you and try to get you to buy something. And in doing that, I learned very quickly, I only have a small amount of time to get you to listen to me. So whatever I need to do to get you to hear me before you hang up so I can capture that sale, I need to do that. I take that same philosophy into the classroom. I don't have a lot of time to you come in, you read the room, you make yourself, whatever, you give your introduction. And if the kids are not with you, then you got to be ready to jump on the fly to something else to get them going with you, or figuring out why are you not with me, or what's going on, and why am I not reading you? And then once I find out what's going on, pivoting so I can reach you in that classroom. And that's I credit AT&T with giving me that skill set of just being able to read something quickly and pivot when I need to capture you. As teachers, choir directors, whatever, we're salespeople. We are selling a product, and the product that we're selling is education. And so whatever I need to do to get you to buy into that education. So if you don't understand, if I say tie, tie, if you can't get that, or if I got to rap it, or if I got to step it, or if I got to sing it, whatever I got to do to sell you on that concept, I'm going to do it. Yeah. Sometimes I think a lot of teachers don't do that. They're so in the box. Well, they have to learn 1, 2, 3, 4. No. The end result is that we get to 4, right? I could care less how we get there. Let's get there. And then once we get to 4, if I want to teach you, go back and say, okay, we got to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'll go back and give you that as well. But as long as we can figure out how to get to 4, that's all we care about.
Yes. So, yes. And kids know how they got there eventually too, right? I think there's also that push of like, there's a difference. I 110% agree. But then people don't hear this and be like, well, she just said I can do whatever to get you to 4. Well, no. Like there's teaching and education that goes along with it too.
True.
That's the fun part too.
True. So for my elementary babies, I conduct a community elementary choir. So I conduct a community high school choir and a community elementary choir. So with my elementary choir, we were talking about whole notes, half notes, quarters, and eighths. And they were getting it, but they weren't remembering how to do it. So I was like, all right. So I just took the simple terminology, it just turned it into a rap.
I've seen that video, I love it.
Yeah. So, but them rapping, but now I can go ask any of them, what's a eighth note? Oh, it's a circle with a stem and it's colored and with a flag. You know what I mean? So they got that now. I didn't have to go, okay, guys, this is an eighth note, and we call this a ta or TT or whatever it's called. We didn't go through that route. We know that that's the eighth note. We know how to count the eighth note. We know how to get that. And so just finding those other ways. I think that's the best thing about teaching is all teachers are like the best creatives. Mm-hmm. Like the original creatives was us. The teacher, it was us. And that's why when the webinar happened and everybody was like, you guys, we can't sing anymore. And then everybody went doom and gloom. I'm like, what in the world? We're creatives. This is what we do.
Yes.
Let's find another way. So
I'm waving my hanky over here because of yes. Mm-hmm. And we've got to get back to more of that. And that's one of the reasons, again, like I'm not blowing smoke up your skirt. Like that's one of the reasons why, like, I love watching what you are doing, and because you're bringing that creativity back in. And it's a testament to the fact of you can be a choir conductor and you don't have to do it in the one way. You make your own way, you build your own vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the fun part on it. And having so many people be supportive, and I'm big on networking. I'm so big on networking and learning. I plan to learn for the rest of my life. So I'm not too shy about saying something I don't know. I am constantly talking to somebody like, hey, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me with this? Or I'm struggling here. Can you help me with that? And I'm very humble in that aspect of just being a learner. I don't know it all. And I know that. Since I know that, there's other people who've been doing this longer than me, or maybe somebody who hasn't done it as long as I have, but they're better at it than me.
Just because people have been doing it a long time don't mean that.
True. But I'm all like, hey, let me learn what you're doing. Help me out so I can have an understanding. And then investing in those people who help me out. Because I think that's a big thing too. You have to be investing and grateful for the people who do take the time to help you out. So
have you always been that person that has just been like, I don't have to be the don't have to, like, I know I don't know everything. Teach me. Or has that been a process that you have worked on?
I think I'm gonna call it a process. So in elementary school, in the school in general, I was always in gifted programs and things like that. Things came naturally to me. So I wasn't a person who struggled in school, but doing music, doing music at 31
Mm-hmm.
and being one of the oldest people in the classroom, um, and being African American,
Yeah.
and not knowing, like, that was very, very humbling for me. I remember my first day of college, going back, my first day, I remember being scared to pieces, because I didn't want to be the stupid person in the room. I didn't, and that's a feeling that was not normal for me. And I'm not saying it should be normal for anybody, but that's just not something I was used to, because I was always used to being the person who could help somebody else out, not the person who needed help. But I embraced it. I was like, I don't know. So since I don't know it, let me go find out. And the department chair, who's my mentor and still a very, very good friend of mine, Dr. Henry, I can remember I was a part of the chamber ensemble, and I can remember every week laying on the floor and saying, you know what, I want to quit. This is not for me. I need to quit. Every week he was like, nope, you're not quitting. Get up. Let's go. Let's learn it. I mean, because Beth, I was learning basic stuff that people who went to, the schools, they had already had this knowledge, and I was in there learning basic stuff, basic counting.
Yeah.
That 2013. That was me. I was the person who didn't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm almost 34 in a business program, and I mean, like, having to remember PEMDAS. So it's different, right? But, like, I mean, I hear you say when you're saying you're the oldest person in the room, and I think it's easier for me to scoot out of being able to fake it when I don't know versus in a music setting, because you can't really fake if you can't read the rhythms in a sight reading class. So I'm not trying to, like, say I know exactly how you feel in that, but I also understand in a weird sense too. And, and we talked about it even last night when we were talking about this interview, and we don't have to talk about race and it's such a hot topic within the world, and I don't want to I don't want you to feel like you have to talk about it or whatsoever. But something you just mentioned, learning I've done even in the last year and a half is how so many times Black women, is it fine if I use Black women? I know some people prefer
say Black. No, I'm
okay.
not from Africa. I'm Black.
Okay. Well, that's what I think too, but I just always usually then just kind of ask, so make sure. So, but I grew up with Black women being strong and powerful and like which I mean, and then, like, I always looked up to Black women because of that authority, and just like, white women that I was around were not raised like that. And I am incredibly gregarious, and I couldn't understand like why being a Black, I never looked down on that. So I just didn't understand that. So that's something that I've learned within the last year and a half, especially, of how even more terrifying it is as a Black woman to show up in places like that and to feel like that is even a tick against you, maybe, when just my naivety or whatever never saw it as that.
So when you come and take the woman off of it, when you come into a place where you're Black and you're the only person in the room, people already assume certain things about you. Okay.
Yeah.
So to have that assumption, and even if they don't, I was on some type of interview the other day talking about this. I've been conditioned to it, that people will assume certain things about me. So I know that if I don't speak, even on this interview, if I don't speak with the correct grammar and things like that, then I may be dismissed um, as a person who don't know as much as, you know, somebody else. You know what I mean? That's reality. I mean, we can have a whole
Right.
conversation about that, but that's reality.
Yeah.
And so coming into that space, knowing I don't know anything about what we're getting ready to talk about, was humbling. The strength comes in the not quitting and using the things that I know would reach everybody, using that to my advantage. I'm 31. I'm in college with somebody who's 18. Well, a lot of them don't have cars. I have a car. I can use that to my advantage. Some of them may be on meal plans. Some of them may be hungry. Okay, come to my house. You tutor me, I'll feed you. You know, that's number two. Speaking to them about real life issues, because I have children and I'm married and stuff. So some real life issues I can speak to you about because I've done this already. You know what I mean? So being that, what the role I assumed was like the big sister of the music department, which helped. And I guess that's showing strength, I guess. But Black women, like we have to be strong. We don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have an option to not be strong. That's not an option. You got to do it. And for me, Maria I had to do this. Number one, because I don't have a job, and I got kids and a husband. So yeah, I got to do this. But number two, I wanted to do it. So quitting was not an option. That after that first semester or that first year, well, that wasn't an option anymore. No, what you don't know, you go find somebody and learn, or you go to office hours. And I frequented a lot of office hours. Every time somebody had office hours, especially if it was something I didn't understand. Like I had no problem saying, I don't know this. I don't know, so I need you to help me.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much power in saying, I don't know. And it's so terrifying for anyone to say. I would argue that there was, not to like argue with you, but I'm going to argue with you. Girl, when you said after that first semester, there was no sense in quitting, I'm going to argue that once you quit your job and decided, I'm going to go to music school, there was no quitting there, because that's the kind, like.
Yeah, but in saying that, but there was, because I remember, I mean, it was just like learning a new language, like several new languages at one time, because there was the language of music theory, and then the language of oral skills, and then this new voice lesson thing that I'm doing now, and then there's piano that's new now, and because I had already taken the easy stuff, like your maths and sciences and all that kind of stuff, it was like this whole music world was, my God, this stuff is hard. This is hard. And I remember like laying in the bed and telling my husband, like, you know what, I don't think I made the best decision. And he was like, but you're doing good. So keep going. So yeah, there was days where I really wanted to quit.
Yeah.
But that inner vision inside of me said, girl, okay, you can be sad for the next 20 minutes. Go grab your theory book and keep going. Yeah. And as entrepreneurs, Beth, like that's something like that we have to deal with, like just taking out the music world. But it's that passion of saying, I know there was days you probably was like, this is Choir Baton, this is getting on my nerves. I don't want to do it no more. And with Girl Conductor, I'm like, this is nice, but I don't really know what I'm doing. You know, maybe this is not the vision. But then you say, nope, keep going. You get past it and you keep going.
Well, it comes down to that vision, right? That you were saying that you have and that you found deep. And what I fear is that too many people don't have a vision.
Yeah. I've heard that a lot. I've heard people who say, you know, I don't know how to find my passion. You know, like I wish I could. You know, your passion is music. I don't know how to find my passion. And yeah, that's something, to not have vision. And being an entrepreneur and going and doing what we do, it's not for everybody. Like, it's not for everybody. but those who have the fortitude to try to do it, just go try it. What's the worst that can happen? It could fail. That's the worst that could happen.
Yeah.
It's not, if it fails, it's not the end of the world.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so I have a question then too. How do you then approach teaching, coming from a gospel tradition, an oral tradition, loving that, respecting that, knowing it is what brought you to music, but then also struggling with and loving and appreciating the fact that you've put in so much freaking hard work for that degree to be able to read music and understand music, and realizing that like the oral skills is a form of music literacy, hands down. I'm not arguing that. But like, how do you then begin to integrate that to just even from a conceptual standpoint? Do you ever feel like you're doing one enough and not the other, or all the things within that?
No, we do it all. I'm a strong component, strong advocate rather, of meeting people where they are. And so we start with where they are. My high school group, they get sheet music the first day. Now, can they read it? The majority of them can't read it, but we start looking at it and we start where we are. And if that means that we do some call or response, that's where we start with, that's fine. But every week we have a music reading component, and we talk about singing in different styles, and we talk about placements of the voice and stuff like that. We talk about everything, so that when they have to flip, because even though we may start with we don't normally start with a gospel piece anyway. We normally don't start with that. My group will sing gospel if the last minute I need to throw in a song just for them. Yep. And it's something I can teach quick. They'll learn it for that. But we start where they are, and then we build on the skills that they have. So they're learning to read. They're learning. We do other languages. We did Lacrimosa, and then we talk about the style of that song. Right. And that style is not the same as singing a gospel song. The Lacrimosa is a north-south sound. It's a straight up and down sound, where the gospel is more spread. It's more east-west. And so we talk about those because I want them to be flexible no matter what they're trying to do with their voices. And I always tell them, I said, if I have to ever go sing in an opera, I can do that. Because I took opera classes. I was trained. I love opera music, love it. But I was trained to do that. And then on the flip, if somebody says, okay, now we need you to come sing barbershop harmony, I can do that. Or they say, come sing this gospel piece, I can do that. But it's because I had all of those experiences in college. So I was a part of the opera. I was a part of the jazz combo. The chamber chorus was a cappella. I had a barbershop quartet when I was in college. I made sure that I familiarized myself with all of those different things. I don't want to be a one-stop shop. I want to know everything. And naturally, I'm nosy. So being nosy, I want to know everything. That's just being real.
Are you a drinker? Because I think we could get it. Oh, well then good. You can. I'll just drink and we can still get in trouble together, even if it's just a beer. No,
we would definitely get in trouble together. Like, that is not an option. We would definitely do that, and I don't have to drink to do it, honey.
Well,
I'm
this
just
is very
crazy.
Then I can blame it on something. And Maggie, you can edit this part out. Yeah, I have no doubt we would. We will. Not we would. We will.
Yeah, we will.
Yes. Man, okay. I have so many. So then, okay, we are entrepreneurs in music, right? And I think that's also what lends itself to why we are so driven to also be entrepreneurs as, I like to say, choralpreneurs or something like that, like musicpreneurs or something, because right
I like that.
it's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all connected.
And I think it's something that we all can be. I mean, we're not. My friend Frank Willis, he has a T-shirt that says "More than a music teacher," and we are more than just music teachers. We're so much more than that. So much more than that. We're motivation. If you really think about what we do in the day, we are motivational speakers. We are low-key doctors. We are therapists.
Yes.
we are relationship counselors. Like
Amen.
we do it all.
Yes.
We do it all. And that's the joy about being a teacher. That's why I love, even though I don't have a classroom, that's one of the things that I just love about teaching is the helping of helping kids, but also just being a part of their world. As crazy as their world is, just being in the crazy with them. Like I often tell my choir, I'd be like, y'all know y'all crazy, right? They'd be like, you right along with us, so you crazy too. And I'm like, I know, and I love it. I love that we are in this crazy world together, and that we depend on each other, and I get energy from them, and they take energy from me. And on days when I don't feel like it, because we have those days, we don't feel like teaching. I don't feel like teaching today. I don't feel like it, but being with them and immediately being able to snap out of it, and like, you know what, you all are what I needed. You all are my medicine. I needed to be here with you all today. Like, that's the best thing about being a teacher or director.
Well, and that's the beautiful thing though, right? Is that teaching music is not bound by where you are, it's who you are. Mm-hmm. Right? And whether it is in a classroom or in a community choir or in a church choir loft or choir room or across a computer from someone,
right,
teaching online.
Right.
It's all the same. You're at the root of it. It's all about the music, and it's not about the music. It's what Franklin shirt is. It is more than.
Yeah, and it's the love that we have for what we do and for our students. I wake up every day excited because I love what I do. I love being in this space. This is my like little studio room, but I love this space because this space is empowering. Like I don't see if you can see it sounds like she believed she could, so she did it. Yes, nothing is impossible. The word itself says I'm possible. And I have these statements around the room, and then this one that says girl power. but this space is so empowering for me that it gives me the energy to go out and say, okay, I can take over the world. I can take it over. And I believe that. I believe 100% that I can take over the world. And it's not that I think I'm better than anybody or anything like that, because I don't. But I just believe I can take over the world. I think we all have that inside of us, that we could do it. We the only person that's stopping any of us from doing this stuff is us. It's me. I'm stopping me. I put all these barriers. Well, Maria, you can't do it because you're this, and you don't have this knowledge, and you don't have this, or you don't have that. Girl, move that crazy stuff out the way and come on, let's go. So I feel like I'm just talking the whole time, and you're not talking at all, Beth.
This is your interview. That's the beautiful thing, girlfriend. Like, that's what I love, dude. I'm just here to listen. I'm like, and soak it all up. Like, I mean, I'm like running aisles. You can't, if we were in a church, I'd be running aisles, waving hankies. Okay. Like,
this waving hanky thing. Did you grow up Baptist?
Nazarene, but like South Georgia. It basically was Baptist, but like, I don't know. Like old ladies would wave hankies when they feel blessed. And so, yeah, my southern things are coming out, I guess. But
no, that's fine. Yeah. I know in church, we wave hankies. I'm not Baptist, but I know we wave hankies and stuff. So I was just curious.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's this. I'm sure it's like when you get blessed and like when someone's
Yes.
saying something that you love. Yeah. Although I have to like hold my arm like this, and I get to like I knock the lady out behind me. Yeah. No. It's yeah. Same thing, I guess. Okay. So on your website, you do individual voice lessons, guest clinician, choral workshops, all the things, so people can reach out to you there.
Yeah. We're running our first summer camp, which is like full, but we should have talked about this. But anyway.
Well, let's go. We're still recording. I can do it's my thing. I do whatever I want to do.
No, we're doing I'm partnered with my good friend Morgan Ludick, who is studying to get her doctorate at Florida State. So she and I are running our first summer camp. It's called Her Story, and it's elementary, middle, and high school camp. So 3 weeks of camps, and working on the next generation of female composers and things like that. And I'm so excited. My good friend Brian Owens from Life Arts and Life Creatives has helped sponsor this camp. It's so exciting.
I'm like, literally, this has been on my heart so much that we need more female composers.
Yep. So we're creating a platform so they can start learning. And you know what? I am not a composer. I've done some things, but like I would never write that on my application as being a composer. But I know some people who are. And so we're connecting girls with people who are composers. And I think that's something else that people need to really take advantage of. Like, know the stuff that you're good at, or the lane that you have, and then putting other people in the stuff that you don't know how to do. There's no way that I would sit in that chair and tell anybody, you're going to learn how to compose from Maria. No, you're not. That's not my lane. That's not things I can do. The things I can do, I'll talk about arranging. I can do that. I'll talk about making up songs out of the blue. I can talk about doing that kind of stuff. Notation. Morgan is good at notation. She can talk to you about that. But it's just knowing what's my lane. Okay, yeah. Maria, you have a platform. You want a summer camp composition. Okay, you have these friends. Boom, 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 boom. That are composers. Let's put everybody together and let's have a camp and let's do it. And so
I'm like, I have been wanting to either like be a part of something or do something, and you're like motivating me to do this for like current teachers, even that are older, whether it's, I love that you have the younger girl. I'm like, well, I don't want to say like I'm stealing her idea or anything like, but it's like, that has been on my heart to do better at composing. And you're right. It is. It's that freaking asking for help thing.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's not still an idea. I mean, there's over 1 billion people on this planet. My camp only got so many spaces. So
my friends just told me to buy this book. I just bought it. Have you bought it before?
No.
Or read it? It's called Steal Like an Artist.
Oh.
And I was like, that's a horrible title. I'm not going to like that. It's going to tell me all the bad things to do. And they told me several times, and I was like, all right, whatever, I'll buy it just to like get you to shut up. And I've read the first 2 pages. And last night I read something that like super resonated with me. Ooh, you'll love this. Everything that needs to be said has already been said. But since no one was listening, everything must be said again. Mm. And we add our own story to it as well, which is cool.
And then think about it. Let's just think about the world. You have choices. There's a Target. There's a Walmart. That's what we have in St. Louis. But there's a McDonald's who sells hamburgers, and Steak and Shake sells hamburgers, and White Castle sells hamburgers, and all these different places. Five Guys, they have burgers. There's a million places where you can go get a hamburger, right? And all of them don't taste the same. The one component that they have that's the same as hamburgers and fries, but some people's hamburgers are shaped like squares. Some people have circle burgers. Some people have hamburgers. I call it like kangaroo meat. That's not really a hamburger, but you kind of eat it. It's not a hamburger. I don't know what kind of meat that is, but horse meat, whatever it is, but it looks like a hamburger. but there's different things, and when you feel like it, I'll go to McDonald's and get a burger. But when I want a White Castle burger, you have White Castles where you are?
Yeah, but I grew up on Crystals. I don't know if you know what Crystals is.
Okay, yeah, that's nasty. Ugh. Crystals?
I'll pray for you. Bless your heart.
Pray hard, honey. I will not convert over to a Crystals. That burger is so nasty.
Actually, I think they're kind of the same, but I grew up on Crystals.
No, Crystals is sweet.
Favorite.
It is sweet. But anyway, but you know, there's all those different kind of burgers, and you just make your choice. So
yeah,
do a summer camp for grown people. They'll come.
I love it. I love it.
Because I'm gonna do one eventually.
I love it
for adults. Yeah,
I love it. And that's a mission of Choir Baton too. Is that ultimately I got tired of teaching, or I got tired of having conversations with adults that I was trying to recruit for church choir and community choir, and then being like, do I need to know how to read music? And I'm like, no, but yes, right? Like you can only do rote music for so long, and it exposes you to such a small thing. And I ultimately want to empower people to be able to sing any music. So in about a month, I'm releasing a course for adult singers to help them.
I want to help you with that. A statement that you just said, that you can only do it for so long. That's not true.
How did I say it?
No, you said you can only do rote music for so long, but that's not true. Because some people, I'm not.
No, you're good. Yeah.
Some people never learn to read. A great friend of mine, he's a piano player, and when I tell you, he can outplay anybody. He can pick up anything and play it. I got another friend who writes compositions for symphonies and things like that. He didn't grow up reading music, and he's brilliant. So it's not that you can only do it for so long. It's just navigating it.
Right. Within a traditional choral setting, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think everyone should be singing the Bach B minor mass, right? But like, if you wanted to do an excerpt from that, that's freaking hard to learn all of that by rote. So,
but it's not, because when I was in school and we were doing John Rutter's Gloria, guess who couldn't read the music when we was doing it? Me. So what did I do? That's what played through my car. Mm-hmm. When I was driving around, that's what I was listening to. It was listening to John. And now I can sing, without looking at it now, I can sing every note for John Rutter's Gloria. Yeah. I learned it by oral tradition. And it wasn't somebody like singing it back to me. It was just me just singing it over and over and over and over and over again.
Well, it's like I can't actually sing any song on the radio and know all the words, because that's just not my gift. But it's just the same sort of thing, right? Like you listen to something, you practice something long enough, and you learn it. And unfortunately, though, our choirs aren't set up for to encourage people, though, if that is how they learn. Mm-hmm. Right? How many times have you sat in a choir where you sing the wrong note holding a piece of music and someone gives you a stank eye? Right. And they're like, I can't hear you. And you're like, I'm blending. That's like, actually like, no, I'm actually just not singing loud enough so you can hear me, and give me another stank eye.
Yeah. So I get that.
Well, thank you so much. Ooh, I just hit something. Well, thank you so much, Maria, for being a guest with us today. I cannot wait. Well, I started to tell my idea, but you have taught me that I need to write it down. So I'm going to write down my idea and then tell you after, and just know in a year or two, Choir Baton, when I say, remember that episode I did with Maria and I told you that idea, here is the fruition of it. Thank you for just being an inspiration that we are capable of achieving our dreams and living the life that we desire.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I really, really, really appreciate it. Yeah. Really appreciate it. And we could do it.
Yes.
We're girls. And even if we weren't girls, but we're girls, we can do it.
We are literally going to change the world. We already are changing the world. Yeah. So if people want to get in touch with you, I will link all of your stuff at the bottom. They can go check out your website, your YouTube page, follow you on Instagram. Is there a Facebook page?
Yes, there's a Choral Conductor Facebook page. There's Twitter. There's like I don't do Snapchat and stuff, so like I'm not good at that kind of stuff.
Same. But you also, on your website, you do individual voice lessons, guest clinician, choral workshops, all the things, so people can reach out to you there. Were you as encouraged and uplifted by that podcast episode as I was? I hope so. Make sure you go and check out all the things that Maria is doing online. All of her things will be linked in the show notes here below. Additionally, Choir Baton is expanding to not only have the teaching membership that is designed to support choir teachers through a myriad of static courses and a mini course each month that changes topics to provide resources for you to learn and grow as a teacher, but also have assessments and a framework for teaching certain aspects in your classroom. And as many of you move to an online or a hybrid teaching model for choir, the beautiful thing about the teaching membership is that we can pivot to help you in that time, just as you pivot through this time as well. I'm specifically designing resources that you can use either in person, online, or in that hybrid model, and we'll continue to expand that. Similarly, if you have suggestions, don't hesitate to reach out to me and let me know. And finally, the Choir Singer Course is coming out. Actually, the correct title is the Choir Baton Singer Course, or the Singer Course, or the Choir Baton Singer Course. Yes. It is designed for adult singers that want to be involved in a choir, have been involved in a choir, are currently involved in a choir, and they need this opportunity to strengthen their music literacy skills in particular. So many of our community choirs are structured to just learn the music on a rehearsal standpoint without the opportunity for us to go in depth as to how and why the music is structured like it is from a literacy standpoint. Now, if you want to make sure the course is for you, the cool thing is I have a free introductory course that outlines how the actual course is set up. I want you to make sure that how I'm teaching works for you. It makes sense for you before you financially invest in the actual Choir Baton Singer course. And this introductory choir singer course is available now online on the Choir Baton website for you to go and check out, explore. I love any and all of your feedback on this. I am not creating the course for me, but for you, and all of your feedback helps me help not only you, but others. The mission of Choir Baton is simple. It's more people singing. And for the last several years, we've particularly done that with a focus on choir teachers, whether you're in a school, church, or community setting. But now is time for us to expand and to also engage with people that are interested in being in your community and church and other religious institution choirs. And I know that we can do that, particularly during the pandemic in which we are all in. I know a lot of community courses are doing amazing things to engage their larger membership, but some aren't. They can't for either the capacity reasons, financial reasons, etc. My hope and desire is that this choir singer course will help fill some of that void. Now, the ironic part is I have been planning to launch this course in July since as early as January. It just so happens that it is all happening right now. And I've gone back and forth as to whether or not now is the time to release this course, but I firmly believe that it is because people are longing to be involved in music making. And if I can help strengthen the skills of people to learn and to engage with choral music now when we can't always be around each other and continue singing as we have, I can provide an opportunity for us to come back when it is time and people are more confident and more knowledgeable about what is happening on the page and within their ears so they can be more engaged in the communal music making experience. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Choir Baton podcast. Thank you to Maggie for being the awesome editor, producer, person that she is to make all of this happen for you. Thank you to you for being a teaching member, Choir Baton podcast listener. We have merchandise now available on the website. There's just so much to tell you. I can't even get it all in these intros and outros of the podcast. So make sure, if you want to know the nitty-gritty details, you are signed up for the Choir Baton letter that I send out to you each Monday morning. And please know that whatever the future holds in regards to in-person or online or hybrid forms of communal music making, Choir Baton is here to help you, to inspire you, to engage you in communal opportunities to ensure that we have more people singing.